welcome back to another episode of When Life Feels Messy.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 8.
Yes. Wow.
How are we already in episode 8 and it's March?
I have no idea. The time has flown.
Yes, it feels like just yesterday we launched this baby and now we're like 8 months in.
I know, it's an 8-month-old. Not year old. 8-month-old.
8 months old. We're going to have a birthday party.
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Wow.
Well, as you listeners probably know, I am one of your wonderful hosts, Erin Raspberry.
And I am your other wonderful host, Ashley Barrera.
I like the double wonderful.
I know.
You're like feeling confident today.
I think I'm just like excited to get into this topic and share with our listeners, our wonderful listeners, why we decided to do a shorter episode. So, as you may have noticed, listeners, like, this is a shorter episode.
Yes.
And our goal with the episodes was to make them like shorter and digestible, and we like kind of, stuck to that. But today, this month's episode, we wanted to really focus in on the importance, why it is so essential to take a break during spring break.
Yes.
And what could that break look like?
Yeah.
Why is taking a break, like an actual break from work, school, studying, maybe people,
Right.
is so important to your mental well-being or just your overall well-being. And so part of this episode is to not keep you here listening so long.
Right.
So that you could plan your break and maybe go take your break.
Yeah.
And also, sorry for the sirens if you can hear them.
Yeah. Mid-center life.
Yeah.
Yes. So we really hope that after this episode, you take what probably would have been an extra 30-45 minutes normally of listening to this podcast on a different episode. You take that back for yourself and you go do something that is nourishing to you. And we are not going to harp too long on things, but we definitely want to talk about this kind of craziness that occurs when it gets time for spring break, and the idea is not to take a break,
Exactly.
but to study harder and longer.
Right, like to cram and to like, just go even, like you said, harder into the 9 to 5, 12-hour a day studying mode.
Right.
And so let's talk about what happens when we don't give ourselves a break. What happens to our bodies and our minds and our emotions when we don't take a break.
Yeah. I think this would be an important time to insert like a silent reflection. And maybe this is the part where listeners can pause and think about that. When and how might you have noticed when you are physically, emotionally, mentally drained and feeling like I haven't taken a break for myself?
When the gas tank is on E.
Yep.
It's been on E.
Yep.
For a solid, I don't know,
48 out of the 50 miles you got till it breaks down.
Yep. It barely is turning on. Yeah. When your car is like,
Yeah.
because you got no gas.
We ain't got no gas.
Okay, but like that's you, right? When you don't give yourself a break
Mm-hmm.
and you just go full throttle
Right.
into studying mode.
How does that show up? Yeah.
How does that show up for you?
Yeah. So take a second and pause and reflect on that. So what came up for you with that reflection? Have you noticed that recently, even in the semester, you've been feeling like that? If so, what is your mindset on how you are going to utilize your spring break time? Were you about to cram even more, studying, working, trying to take up extra shifts because you don't have school?
Right. Or even maybe overload your schedule with social things, that can, take away from your actual break time.
Yep. Yeah. It's important to really be in tune with what exactly am I feeling in terms of like my energy and ability to function right now. Because what I will say that we see so much, and it's honestly so like heartbreaking in a sense, is that our students are so like academically just like perfectionist and like driven to just like constantly be these A+ students and like give their all. And in doing that, they essentially lose this notion of they have to be taken care of too.
Right.
They can't just be 100% student mode all the time and ignoring their basic needs.
Yes, the basic needs. That's a great place to start, actually, of talking about like where to start when you decide to prioritize and be intentional about taking a break.
Yeah.
Let's reflect back on our basic needs.
Yeah. In case we forgot in all this madness in the weeks prior.
So sleep.
Oh, how many of you are getting an adequate amount of sleep? We see the lack of hands.
Yeah. And what I've learned recently is it's about the quality of the sleep and not about like the actual length of it in one big chunk.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that like is also something that's applied to like studying, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about, oh, I'm going to cram 8 hours worth of studying and learn so much. Like you can do that, but your brain's not going to retain information after a certain point. And what I've read and heard is it kind of like messes up your short-term memory and makes you like mix things up in your brain because you're like confusing by taking in information after your brain can't like process it. And instead it's what is like the quality of like these smaller studying like spurts that you actually retain it versus like the time. And I think that's important. And I've heard a lot, especially from students, is like this notion of feeling guilt of, oh my gosh, well I have to sleep, right? But then trying to go to sleep, you're just stressing about I need to be studying.
Yep.
So
or like, why haven't I fallen asleep yet?
Right. Why haven't I fallen asleep yet? Like I'm about to have to like wake up in a couple hours and do some more studying or I have a big exam. So it's like, are you ever like really appreciating and allowing yourself to like soothe and replenish itself and like just recoup from a stressful day? And it's like I don't see that happens a lot. I see that sleep happens because you're like, well, I have to do it, but not necessarily like I appreciate and want this and I'm not stressing myself out that I could be doing a million other things versus sleeping.
Right. Sleep is key.
It's very important.
Sleep is key because it also not just makes how you feel during the day so much better, but it impacts all of the other systems in your body and how those function.
Right.
So maybe, be intentional about planning, not going out one night or maybe judging up your sleep routine, right?
Yeah, treat yourself.
Yeah, treat yourself.
Right? Like get those like really calming sprays for your pillow. Get you a nice eye mask.
I love an eye mask.
Yes. Like do something like where you are appreciating that your body is about to go into the sleep phase. You're not stressing yourself out beforehand. You're letting yourself naturally wake up. Like even just one day, right? Like during this coming spring break. Like, and just allow your body to get what it needs. It does so much to restore you in our sleep. And then we don't even think about it because we're asleep and then we wake up, right? And you're like, oh, okay, it's another day. But so much is happening inside that makes a big difference in your ability to function in the next day.
Period.
Point blank.
So circling back to our basic needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Addressing sleep is key number one. Maybe we can use this spring break time to schedule in a doctor's appointment, do a checkup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, go see that specialist that you've been wanting to see.
Right.
So physical health, checking in on that.
Up. Yeah, this is the time too to like just stretch a little bit more, maybe
Moving your body.
Move your body a little bit more in different ways than sitting in a classroom or walking all the time in your clinicals,
right,
or lifting people or whatever you're doing, but doing things that maybe feel good to you, right? And it doesn't have to be like extreme, go run on a treadmill for 45 minutes. This can be like if you really enjoy like yoga stretching, or even like
swimming,
even like swimming, like if you enjoy like meditation, if you enjoy whatever, there's so many different ways that you can be like physical, like do something that will make your body feel good and feel worked in a good way. That's your choice, right?
Yes. So also on, tapping into your body, maybe planning a special meal for yourself and your loved ones, going to try that new restaurant or, that new coffee shop that you've been wanting to try.
Yeah.
Or make a meal with your family. Like,
right.
Doing something intentional that is going to refill your cup, like refill your engine.
Yeah.
And, take a pause from the academic world.
Yes. And really, like, I think the key to that is soaking it in. Like, so much of our time is spent rushing. Like, you wake up, you rush to go get coffee or rush into class. You might rush in between classes to go get lunch.
Or you go and rush to the restaurant.
Right. Like, it's all, like, so much of a time, like, crunch and management. So maybe during this time, you can just schedule something that's not time restrictive. You can actually sit there, you can chit chat, you don't have to stare at the clock. You can enjoy and savor like the meal you're consuming, the coffee that you're drinking, whatever it is, and just like really focus on being present rather than focusing on a million other things that you could be.
Love that. Being present. Focus on being present. Focus on being in the moment.
Yeah.
And that, our lovely listeners, is called mindfulness.
You might have heard of it.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So in regards to this podcast and taking a break, we really wanted to empower our students to take that break. And maybe, if you're feeling stuck about what that could be, tapping into those basic needs like we just talked about, or even referring back to some of our older episodes about self-care, right?
Stress
management, and starting that way.
Yeah. And I don't want, and we don't want that this comes across as we're telling you don't study at all during spring break, because that's not realistic.
Right.
A lot of you have exams right after spring break, and we get it, right? Like that kind of makes it feel like ugh, like
right.
And to that, it's not a bad thing to have a study session here and there. The point we want to make is don't take these next free 5 days that you don't have classes and say, oh my gosh, that's 40 hours more that I can be cramming and studying.
Exactly.
Like, pencil in priorities for you and then studying where it kind of is applicable and can.
Yeah. And also tapping into noticing if you're like, oh, I'm going to use my break time to take care of other life responsibilities that I've kind of let go on the wayside.
Yeah.
And, get all those things done and during spring break, which could be beneficial, right?
Right.
Everyone's definition of a break is different, but also noticing when you're like using more energy.
Yeah.
and you don't feel like this is relaxing, or you don't feel like this is fun, or, this is a moment where you can be present and just feel like that,
Right.
I can finally breathe moment.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not there when you're accomplishing those responsibilities, and maybe plan an actual moment to, yourself.
Yeah.
Just like you're going to plan and be intentional about, taking care of those responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that may include roping in your support system.
Yeah.
Hey, lovely sister-in-law or mom, I have these 5 days that, are free, but I have to do X, Y, and Z. Could you please watch my kids for 3 hours? Or, can we cook dinner together on this day?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or can we go take a walk?
Yeah.
Right? The key is being intentional, and it may feel like a little bit draining and like, ugh, I gotta put more effort in to making sure I get a break. But yes, no one's gonna put that effort in other than you.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
And now you have a great big chunk of time to do so.
Yeah. And thinking about, why are we emphasizing this so much? It's because we hear all the time of how burnt out you all are.
Yes.
And we get it. Especially this is the spring semester. We're coming off the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And usually what happens is, especially for those of you who don't have classes in the summer, or you take that break, you hit the fall like ground running.
Yep.
You are putting in 100%, even 150 sometimes. You are determined, you're studying all the time, and what happens? You get to the end of the semester and you're burnt out. And then over the break, are you actually taking a break? Are you starting to prepare for the next semester? Are you over socializing and doing so many different family events because it's the holidays that you come off the break feeling like you didn't have one?
Yep.
And then we start a whole new semester and you're already running on E.
Yep. That car is going to break down.
Yeah. And we see that a lot. We see that. And we are now in the middle of the semester. We are coming in and off of midterms. And now we're here at spring break. And a lot of you are feeling like I am emotionally, mentally, physically drained. And if you take spring break as, oh gosh, I'm going to have to put in even more work, what's going to happen after this?
Exactly.
We still have weeks after this until finals.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the bigger picture here. If you know you are already running on fumes, taking advantage of this spring break, if you can, is probably vital.
It is vital. Essential.
Yeah.
And something that I've also noticed in conversations about burnout and, that grind to just keep going is like how this could be used as practice for when students are actually in their chosen field or in the job, and they have to advocate for themselves that they need a break.
Right.
Or their supervisor is asking them to come in on a day that they're off, and like practicing to just stand firm and I need to refuel myself and not feel bad about it.
Yeah. We have to be aware of what we need and not feel ashamed of fulfilling those needs. Mm-hmm. Because fulfilling those needs is what will keep us functioning.
Yep.
I hear all the time of like, oh, I just don't have time to do this and this and this for myself. Like, I have to keep studying. Like, I gotta do well in these exams. I gotta finish the semester. You are not going to be able to function properly if you do not take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. The human body and brain cannot function under that much stress for that long.
Right.
You have to take care of yourselves. And think about, especially these are our healthcare people.
Exactly.
Going into this, there isn't an academic year in the real world. There is all year long. Mm-hmm. And so we have to like start now noticing what our body, mind, spirits need, and being okay with giving ourselves that, because otherwise you are just going to continue to burn out, and what's going to happen is a couple years from now you're not going to feel happy and satisfied in your life, in your career, and then you're going to be like, what do I do?
Or in yourself, for letting yourself get there.
And we want this to be avoided, because all of you have so much to give into this world and the impact on others, and we want you to feel that it is just as important, if not more, to give to yourself, so you can fulfill whatever life mission and purpose that you have. But in order to do that, you have got to take care of yourself.
Beautifully said, Erin.
Thanks.
And on that note, let's wrap up.
Yeah, I think this is a great place. Mic drop. You get the point. And with that, like,
go take care of yourself.
Enjoy this time that is short-lived, because you'll be back at the grind soon enough, and finals will be coming up. So just take care of yourselves. Do something that feels good for you.
Do something that brings a good laugh, puts a good smile on your face.
Yes. When's the last time you like genuinely laughed and smiled?
Yep.
Like, sometimes I ask myself that question and I'm really astonished by the answer.
Yeah.
So
on that note, we hope this was helpful, and we hope that you get proactive and be intentional about taking that break for yourself. And we'll see you next month.
Yes, stay tuned for our next episode, which will feature a special guest, and we will be talking about April being National Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Yep.
So we hope that you tune in, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves and be well, and we will see you next time.
Bye.